Okay, that should be fixed now. If Paul could just let me know in chat if you can now hear me. I think I was just commentating to myself there for a second, but I think we're good now. Yep, perfect. Okay, fantastic. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, we're following along here with Tim. He's on his hot lap, I think, right now. 10 minutes left of this relatively short qualifying session. He's going to be coming around the final corner here at the Portimao circuit to set the first hot lap of MidWest's new Friday series. Obviously, this weekend we're going to be on Project Cars 2, but we will be alternating between a few different games. He's going to cross the line, and what will the lap time be? It'll be a 1:33.5. So that's the benchmark so far from Tim. Be interesting to see if those lap times are going to tumble down much more than that. Again, we don't usually do this sort of thing here. This is a new idea from MidWest, constantly trying to find new ways to bring us exciting new racing. So yeah, this is a new challenge for all of the drivers. We're following along with Nicky at the moment. He's going to be setting his lap pretty soon. Yeah, sorry, I apologise for the quiet. I'm just trying to sort a few things out behind the scenes. Obviously, this is a new. It's not just new for the drivers, but it's new for everybody organising it as well. So we appreciate all the patience everybody has shown with us while we're trying to get this thing to work, because obviously there's a lot of new stuff to try and manage. As Random runs very wide there, and he's I think he hasn't got it invalidated. Tim Lee got his latest flying lap invalidated. That's come up on the race feed there. He's just come into the pit lane, so he's abandoned that lap after getting the invalidation. Adeltonian, he's not set a time yet, but I think he's going to be looking to change that as he's coming hurtling down the main straight, about to cross the line now. It's the second of the white lines that you see there on the screen. He bumps himself up only to 5th place though, with a 1:37.2. I'm sure he'll be disappointed with that, and he can definitely improve upon that, I believe. We've still got Cake, Kaz and ZGS in the pits who haven't set times yet. Tim, currently our provisional pole sitter. It would be interesting to see if any of these drivers have anything to say about it, as we see the Best Pons just invalidated his lap time there. He is quite possibly going to have to pit as Random Serious sets the fastest time, and we've got yellow flags there out for Seabury. You think he was just getting out of the way of some drivers there, so I don't think that's anything we need to worry about. But yeah, that's Random Serious with a 1:32.2 to go a second clear of Tim Lee at the top of the timing screens. Still a few drivers in the pits. Do they think they've got the pace to grab pole, and maybe they're just trying to sandbag? They'll have to remember that this is the Formula Renault cars, not Formula Mercedes, so they don't have to be sandbagging. But as we say that, Kaz is going to be coming out of the pits, as is ZGS. As Nicky crosses the line there to go P2, I believe. So great lap there by Nicky, only just under 3/10 off of the time set by Random Serious. He's peeling off to the side of the track to get out of the way. Only Kate Thomas now who has not left the pits. Hello to everybody that's watching along as well at home. Thanks for tuning in. Just following along with Random Serious, it looks like he's going to be on another hot lap here, because he does seem to be pushing. Let's follow along with him as he crosses the line. Does he improve? He does improve by another 5/10 of a second there. All the way up to do a 1:31.6, so he is looking absolutely untouchable at the top of the timing screens at the moment. We'll have to see if that continues on. We'll get off the bumper cam. We don't really want to be seeing that. Follow along, I think, with Janet. We don't want to do that. That was heart and mouth moment right there. Don't press the back key, ladies and gentlemen. Here we follow on with Jinnit. He's just gone very wide there to try and... I'm not sure if he's gotten away with it. So I think he's been allowed to do that. I think maybe he might get a little bit of a slowdown penalty as Nicky invalidates. So I'm wondering where the drivers are actually managing to invalidate, because if Jinnit just got through that without an invalidation, I think Nicky has got to be driving over to the Circuit Barcelona-Catalunya before he's getting an invalidation, but he's managed to do it. He's just crossed the line as well, so he invalidated right in the final sector. And he's invalidated again, I think. We've got yellow flags there for ZGS. I think he's just getting out of the way of everybody. Possibly out of fuel. I don't think so, though. Cake still in the pit lane. Going to be interesting to see if he does get out to set a lap. Random Serious peeling into the pit lane as Tim Lee goes onto provisional pole position by 0.5 of a second. I said just a few minutes ago that Random Serious was looking untouchable. Well, he has been touched and he has been rocked all the way down to P2. Still got a second in hand to Nicky in P3, but Tim has just stamped his authority. 4 minutes left in the session though, so he will be having time to have time to respond. See, Nicky is pulling over to the side of the track. He's making sure he leaves a lot of space there. This is ZGS. We see there the back end kicking out, and that's Crash McQueen has been subbed at Tier 1 for 7 months. Fantastic, awesome Crash, awesome mate. That's what we like to see, guys. But yeah, Tim Lee looking very strong at the top of the standings. Looking in the chart, I'm not sure exactly if that's how I would describe it, but if that's your choice of verbs, then go for it, as Tim is about to cross the line again. We'll ride on board with him as he does cross the line, and he does improve. First driver into the 129s. Will he be the last? That will be very interesting to see, but that's a 129.966. But he's yeah, he's looking like he could be the man to beat out there. Random is looking to fire back as well, though. We'll go back to the trackside view of him as the cameraman manages to find him. But yeah, Tim certainly does appear to be a beast at Project Cars 2. But here goes Random Serious. He wants to take the crown away from Tim. He's gone across the line. Will he be able to? No, he doesn't improve. So that might have just been setting himself up for another hot lap. We'll see. It looks like he is still pushing, keeping it well within the lines through turn 1. It's very easy to go wide and invalidate yourself there. It looks a lot easier to drive these cars on the spectator trackside view that we see than it does in the cockpit when you're having to really try and hustle the car around the corners. It's very difficult to do. As Random getting a little bit of oversteer there. I doubt any of the laps have been perfect for the drivers. They're all still trying to get used to, obviously, driving Project Cars 2 instead of F1 that they're usually used to. And there's Nicky. He's off in the gravel. That's not where he wants to be. He's had an off. Sorry guys, I'm just exploring the options that we actually have. We'll pop up the track map as well. That'll be helpful within the race. But yeah, this is the circuit, of course, that the real Formula 1 is going to. this weekend. So it's going to be really, I think it'd be a really fun experience for the drivers actually to experience what the F1 drivers are going to experience on a track that isn't on the Formula One game. Of course, as it isn't a permanent mainstay on the calendar, at least not until recently. Random, he is pushing, it would seem. He looks like he's pushed a little bit too much there. He's gone deep, and that would have cost him a hell of a lot of time. I don't think he's going to be able to improve. No, as we see, he is there 5/10 down. And there's the half spin. He manages to collect it. A little brush up against the gravel there, but he's still going. But I need to stop doing that. We can see how much he's really pushing to try and beat Tim, but Tim is currently celebrating his provisional pole position, having a disco in the pit lane. He's absolutely loving life. We'll ride on board, actually, I think, with this little disco party that's occurring. Hell yeah, look at that. He's absolutely loving life. Anyway, we'll go back to trackside. We'll go back to Random Series. Who's actually? Should we go to the best ponds? Should we see what the best ponds is doing? Qualifying has now been completed. I think you can still finish the lap though if you are on a fast lap, but best ponds is well off his time. Jinnit, he's going to be trying to set a lap time possibly as well. Full on board with him. Yeah, he's 2/10 up on his delta. So if you can find a few more tenths, you might be able to challenge Nicky, who is in the pits right now, so won't be improving. Driving the car beautifully, misses the apex ever so slightly, but it might have been intentional to really maximise the exit. This last corner, real high speed. You see the car getting a bit of a wiggle on as you ride over that crest. You lose some of that grip that you've accrued through the high speed previously, but he's going to cross the line now. Will he improve? We don't get to see, actually, until the next timing screen's here, and we see he did not improve. He did improve up to P4, but here are the final standings we have of the qualifying session. Sorry, Tim Lee P1, Random P3, and the best ponds in P3. Sorry. We will bring up the map. We're all lined up. They're going to be doing a rolling start, so I think they'll possibly complete a lap before the actual racing begins. Wait and see. This might be a time where the drivers are going to be looking at making their strategies and such. And so yeah, we'll have a look through the field actually at who's qualified where. So Tim Lee is going to be P1, Random Series following behind him in P2. P3 will be the best ponds. Jinnit to win it, he's in P4. Nicky, he's going to be P5. We've got C Barry, one of the organisers, down in P6. Not a great qualifying, but certainly not a bad one. He's really going to be in contention for that for a possible place in the podium if there's some fighting up ahead. Same goes for Adeltonian, who's going to be in P7. We'll switch over to the roof view as we go down the field. Except Nicky C Barry, then Adeltonian in P7. ZGS is going to be starting near the back of the grid. Not a fantastic lap by him, and Kaz will be rounding off the grid in P9. I'm not sure what happened to Cake. Either he's had some issues and he had to leave, or perhaps he didn't qualify at all. I'm not 100% sure, but it'll be a 27 lap race here around the Portimao circuit. And here we go. I think this is the formation lap. Yeah, it's going to be the formation lap here. Yeah, it looked like Kate Thomas actually disconnected. I'm not sure if he'll be able to get back in. I hope obviously that he can. Don't know if somebody could possibly shoot him an invite. Don't think I have the capacity to. Or perhaps I just don't have the knowledge to. Either or. But yeah, Tim's going to be leading us around. We are doing a rolling start, I believe. So the drivers behind, I want to make sure they are up nice and close for the beginning of this race. We're about halfway through the lap as well now. The drivers will just be weaving, trying to get the heat into those tyres, trying to build some temperature before the race begins, because obviously you want to build up that temperature to get the grip. I think that's Kaz there falling really far behind as well. He's struggling, to say the least, to put it politely. He'll want to catch back up, because it's not like F1 where they'll wait for you on the grid. This is going to be a rolling start, so he needs to catch himself up to the back of ZGS. But Tim is approaching the final corner now, so I don't think Kaz will be able to catch up. Tim now backing up the pack. And we will wait for the green. Drivers just trying to build up the temperature still there. They're all trying to get a run on each other. And here go the lights. 3, 4. Lights out and away we go. Tim pulling away from the pack, it would seem. He's got a really good jump there on the best ponds. Got Nicky and Random Serious. They're going to be side by side. Nicky manages to get himself through to P3. Bit of contact there between, I think that was Nicky and Random, as well as possibly Pons, but looks like Pons is trying to catch up to Tim, who's had a fantastic start already, 3/10 ahead, but they seem to be pulling away from the pack behind, as we see Random trying to make the move there on Ginit, but Random's gone a little bit deep. That might give the run to Nicky64. ZGS following behind them as well. It'll be interesting to see. Some people may have to pit this lap with some damage, because we did see that contact on the first lap. We'll check back in with Tim though. He's now got a second in hand to Ginit behind him, so Tim looking really comfortable already in this race. Ginit passed the best Pons as well, so Ginit looking really strong. But yeah, the best Pons, he's coming under pressure now from Random Serious, so maybe Pons has got a little bit of damage that might be affecting his performance. And Random's got Nicky, of course, then right behind him as well. So we see Nicky running a little bit wide. Then we've got ZGS and C-Barry at the back. Not a great start for them. We'll see if possibly they will be able to catch up later on in this race, but it doesn't look great. Tim just has absolute buckets of pace though, it would seem. Ginit trying to match him though. He's making his way up through the field after underachieving a little bit in qualifying. The best Pons staying strong as well in P3. A little bit of a fight for P4 between ZGS and Nicky. It'll be interesting to see. We've got Random Serious in the pits on the first lap, so perhaps he had some damage. And they are going to release him now, I think. They'll release him at some point. This is looking like quite a poor pit stop. Perhaps he has to serve a penalty as well. But we'll go back to Tim. Coming under pressure from Ginit. Ginit is catching up to Tim. He seems to be catching up every single corner now. The gap now down to 5/10. And he's passed. He's passed Tim. I'm not sure what happened to Tim there, if he had to run a little bit wide and got a slowdown penalty, but he's down to P2. And there goes Tim. There goes Tim spinning. Spinning at the top of the hill there. He might lose the position then to Best Pons. There he is, P3. Ginit looking really strong in P1. Now looking like he may, he has control of this race. He's got 5 seconds back to Pons. He doesn't have much breathing room there to Tim behind. Tim, obviously, we know he's got a lot of pace, so we'll see. He might be able to fight his way back up to second, but that's an absolutely disastrous mistake there for Tim to lose P1 with his own mistake. He's going to be putting the best Ponds under some pressure here, though, as they're coming down the hill. He's tucked up in the slipstream. He's going to be a little bit too far back, I think, to make the move. He's going to try it anyway, and he's run wide. He has to back off. He has to come back onto the track slowly there to not pick up a time penalty for exceeding track limits. But he's had an absolute stinker there, I think it's safe to say. Jinnit looking incredibly comfortable now in P1. 7 seconds back to the best pond, so we'll see if Jinnit can just keep going without making any mistakes, because we know if Tim can show that pace in qualifying and then make a mistake, then anybody can make a mistake. It's very difficult to drive these cars, and Portimao is a very technical and difficult circuit. Tim's still trying to put pressure onto the best ponds, though. We could see a move coming up pretty shortly. Best Pond's going slightly defensive towards the inside. Tim taking a wider line to try and get the run out on him. And they've done the same thing here as we see him backfiring a little bit. And look how close Tim is to the gearbox of the Best Ponds. Might put him under a little bit of pressure down the inside. He can't quite get past though. He's going to have to stick behind now, but he should, hopefully, for him, be able to get a good run onto the straight, and we can see some fighting down into turn 1. See, will he be close enough though? It looks like the Best Ponds has got a little bit of a gap, perhaps a little bit too much for the slipstream to overcome. Of course, we're not on Formula 1, so I'm not 100% sure whether they will have the aid of the DRS, but Tim is going to be close enough. He's going to move to the inside. The Best Ponds is going to try and defend the outside, and they've had a massive crash there. The Best Ponds flying upside down. It looked like he tried to move to defend a little bit too late, and disastrous consequences for him and for Tim. Absolutely ginormous crash there. The Best Ponds with massive damage. He's just gone rolling down the main straight. This has been a very entertaining race, to say the least. As so that's ZGS, sorry, that's got the wing damage there. As does the Best Ponds, his teammate. It looks like Ponds may just be out of this race. That was an absolutely humongous crash there. The gap now 20 seconds, 26 seconds at the start of at the front of the pack for Jinnit. That was absolutely incredible. I'm not sure what happened. Don't know if anybody in chat, wink wink nudge nudge, to the Best Ponds there could explain what just went on. But we are quickly running out of runners in this race. We've got Jinnit comfortably winning now in P1. It's going to take a disastrous mistake, but with what's happened so far in the first 4 laps, it would I would be remiss to act as if that would be an impossible occurrence. C Barry's got a little bit of a gap back to ZGS, who's running with no front wing, so he's going to have to pit this lap. Tim then behind. It looks like Tim has gotten incredibly lucky. He doesn't seem to have major damage after that airplane crash that he ended up in. Nicky then back in P5. He's got quite a big gap ahead of him, and he's got Random Serious behind, who is going to be looking to put him under pressure. Nearly runs wide into the gravel there. Manages to keep it on the correct side of the white lines there. And yep, ZGS, as I thought, is going to be in the pits on lap 4. This is really going to hurt his race. But yeah, we're down to 6 runners now in what has been, quite frankly, a heart attack inducing 5 laps of racing here. Honestly, it would be difficult to justify the sheer madness of this race in words after just 5 laps. As the Best Ponds just explains what happens. He says he was driving straight and must have hit a bump or something, and lost the car on the straight and got T-boned by CGS, which sent him flying. I mean, that looked about right. That looked about right to me. I honestly don't know how to react to that. It's gone from just absolute parties in the pit lane for Tim after securing pole position to absolute heartbreak as he's back in the pits, but for the wrong reasons. As he's having to get this damage fixed. Looks like he might be serving a penalty as well. I'm not 100% sure. Jinnit now with 40 seconds, and if you thought Friday Madness was madness, I'm not sure if we actually have a word that we could use justifiably to describe the madness of of MidWest Project Cars 2 Fridays. So yeah, it's been an entertaining watch so far, that's for sure. Certainly the craziest thing I think I've ever seen whilst commentating a race. But we'll drop back in on Seabury. We'll see how Seabury's doing. We'll ride on board a little bit so you can get a feel for the speed of these cars and the sort of lines they're going to be taking through the corners. Of course, much slower than Formula 1 cars that the drivers are used to. But there's quite a lot of gaps in the field now. Nicky using all of the track on the outside there to maximise his exit. Really pushing, but I don't think any amount of pushing is going to bring Jinnit back into his grasp, as we see Jinnit catching up to Random Serious, who has an off and has then spanned the car. We'll try and get the cameras on him as quick as we can. Yeah, he gets the car straightened back up, and he's just been lapped there by Jinnit, who is probably just absolutely bewildered as to what is actually going on. We're now down to 5 runners in this race. Our pole sitter, Tim Lee, now 3 minutes behind the lead. This race has just been something else, honestly. And we've still got another 22 laps of it. Jinnit pushing on though, in the lead. He just needs to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes at all. He's going to cross the line to start lap 8. He's got Random Serious behind him, who's just been lapped, of course. The gaps in the traffic are pretty large at the moment as well, so I'm not sure if we're going to see much fighting, to be honest, unless perhaps a safety car were to be called out. The gap now 50 seconds. Random a second up on his fastest lap as well. So all the drivers, they're finding time with every single lap here of the Algarve circuit, known more famously as Portimao. The gap now from Ginett to Seabury, 60 seconds. Looks like Seabury going a little bit slow there, but I think that was just the nature of the exit of that corner. But yeah, the gaps are pretty big throughout the field. Probably the smallest gap is going to be Seabury and Nicky. Have to try and pay attention to that gap. But I think he is actually catching up to Barry, so we could see another battle. We could see another aeroplane crash. We could see a few things. So I'm gonna keep watching on. Tim now 3 minutes behind. Yeah, safe to say he's not had the greatest of races. He'll be looking to bounce back next weekend, where I think we might be on dirt rally. Ginett down on his lap there as well. The gap still coming down between Nicky and Seabury as well. Nicky slowly but surely catching the gap, 3.3 seconds. He's trying to rope in Seabury before possibly the first round of pit stops. If the drivers will pit, I'm sure they quite probably will. Of course, we have seen some pit stops already, but that's just been for damage. The gap now 2.2 seconds, so Nicky really catching up to Seabury. We will go and ride on board. Why not? We'll ride on board with Nicky as he keeps trying to catch up to Seabury. The gap's still around 2.3 seconds though. It's fluctuating quite a lot now though, as they each gain time on each other through different corners and lose time through others. But Nicky will definitely be able to see Seabury pretty clearly ahead of him, and this will be motivating him and pushing him onwards. The gap now under 2 seconds. Seabury getting possibly a slightly better exit through there than Nicky, but Nicky keeps bringing that gap in. He keeps pulling Seabury in. 1.6 seconds the gap now. Nicky certainly has the pace. We'll go back to the trackside camera to follow along with this battle. He's going to be within touching range pretty soon, I believe. And here we go, he has a little look down the inside. He's not close enough, that makes him run a little bit deep. Only a couple of tenths between the two drivers now. Nicky definitely has the pace over Seabury, but Seabury's going to try and defend this one. Be interesting to see, can Nicky maybe have a look at making a move at one of the unorthodox areas of the track where maybe you wouldn't usually expect it. That will be very interesting to see. So we'll hide the standings there actually. And there's the damage there for Nicky. He's just tapped the back of Seabury, and that means his front wing has gone, but Seabury spun. Seabury's spun himself around. I mean, this race just goes from mental to crazy. Honestly, it's one thing after another. I don't think the drivers have quite got the hang of racing on Project Cars 2, I think, to say the least. Nicky, sorry, there, punting off the cone on the outside of the track. He's going to have to pit though. He'll be really feeling that lack of downforce. Only 6 seconds back to Seabury as well, so he's going to lose that position. And no, Nicky decides to carry on without the front wing. He's still pulling away from Seabury, who is now under pressure, I think that's Ginett actually lapping him. Yeah, he's just been lapped by Ginett there. So Seabury might be able to try and follow along behind Ginett, using the slipstream and using the pace of Ginett ahead of him to try and pull him along. See, can he perhaps catch up to Nicky? Not doing that, he won't. He span, he's in the gravel. He gets the car turned back around again. And he can continue off along down the track. Random Serious is actually within touching distance now as well. He's going to possibly be looking at making the move on Seabury. We'll see if we'll eventually be able to get a move. And a guy in the chat, he's mentioned this Will the Thrill guy. I mean, couldn't tell you who that guy is, honestly. But yeah, we'll keep following along with Random Serious, trying to close that gap into to Seabury. Down to 5 drivers for him, I think we had about 16 when we first started. As has been the nature of the first 12 laps of this carnage-filled race. See if Random can continue to try and put the pressure on to Seabury. The gap now 2.2 seconds. But it's grown a bit through these last couple of corners. Seabury now pulling it back in as well. So we see quite a lot of pace differentials throughout the lap. Some drivers are a lot faster through certain corners than others. It's all just about hooking them up together to get a really good run through each sector. But Seabury definitely going to be coming under pressure from Random, because he is definitely catching up to him. 1.5 seconds the gap now, as we see there. I think that's Nicky in the pits. Yeah, Nicky decided after trying to complete the lap with no front wing that perhaps that wasn't the smartest idea, and perhaps yeah, perhaps those cars need those front wings in order to travel quickly through the corners. Random still trying to put the pressure on Seabury. He's within a second now. Only 8/10 separating those two drivers in the battle for the bottom step of the podium. You see Nicky there getting a little, Seabury, sorry, getting a little bit wide there. They're going to be side by side. Coming to the left-hander. Does Random have the move done? Yes, he does. Can Seabury try and fight it back though? Can Seabury give us a show? No, he's going to touch the curbing. Bumped up on the curbing. Half spins. Manages to collect it again with by locking all 4 wheels. That's not going to help his tyre wear, and it's not going to help help him in his fight to try and hold on to P2, which he has unfortunately for him now lost to Random. Meanwhile, Jinnit to win it. He is certainly Jinnit to win it at the moment, because he is 1 minute 35 seconds ahead of Random Serious, as he's peeling into the pits now for his first pit stop. And I'd imagine it'd be a one stop here if they're pitting on lap 4, about halfway through the race, of course. So well, actually, we'll hop on board for the pit stop. We'll watch along with the very slow pit stops that you have in this class of racing. And up goes the lollipop stick, and away goes Random Serious. Away goes Jinnit, sorry. The gap there on the right hand side at the top to Random Serious, who's in P2. He's not going to come under any real pressures. He's got a lot of time in hand. Random Serious is yeah, that pit stop may actually save him from being lapped, but this has been an absolute masterclass from Jinnit to win it. We'll ride on board with Tim Lee. Tim Lee, of course, was our pole sitter, but now he finds himself 3 minutes and 17 seconds behind P1. So there's bottling it, and then there's whatever Tim Lee has managed to do today, because I don't think bottling does it justice, to be honest. He's yeah, he's completely messed it up. We've got a couple of swaps in position here though, between, I think that was possibly Seabury and Nicky. Yes, Nicky putting Seabury under pressure. Seabury moves to defend though. Fair racing as Seabury runs a little bit wide off the track, trying to keep Nicky behind him. Nicky's going to look to make the move down the inside. We'll see, can Seabury hold it around the outside? He's going to certainly try to. Looks like Nicky gets a little bit of oversteer there on the exit and can't make the move stick. Seabury's going to hold on to P3 for now. Nicky still putting him under increasing pressure though, only a second behind. Will he perhaps be able to get past into turn 1 if he can try and get himself close enough? I don't think he's going to need to, because there goes Seabury into the gravel, spinning as he comes back onto the track. And Yeah, he's gifted P3 there to Nicky. We'll see if he can actually hold on to it though, because the drivers throughout the field have been demonstrating how easy it is to make a mistake here. It is very, very easy indeed. But most importantly for Seabury is that he does not have any damage from that, and he'll be able to continue onwards. But I think for most of the drivers, it's just going to be a procession from now on, unless we see some crazy mistakes, which are certainly possible after the absolutely incredible race. If you are joining us now and you didn't see the start, the first 4 laps from hell of pure and unadulterated chaos. We saw front wings flying, and then we saw cars flying. We saw essentially an aeroplane collision between 2 drivers down the straight. One rolling his way down the pit straight before retiring. As we got Seabury in the pits there. He's he's going to still keep the position to Tim, who's that far behind. Random Serious also in the pits. He's going to be out comfortably ahead of Nicky as well. So I don't think we're going to see any fighting there. But yeah, if you are just joining us, we had an absolutely insane collision. We've lost a lot of drivers. I can assure you we certainly didn't start the race with 5. But yeah, the race has been chaos for the last 15 laps essentially. Random Serious now in the pit lane as well. He's going to be exiting the pits as Nicky is coming down the straight, but I think he's going to just have enough time in hand there to be comfortably out ahead as long as he doesn't make any mistakes. And that's looking pretty comfortable. We'll see, can Nicky reel in Random Serious? Will Nicky have the pace? I think he has had quite a lot of pace out here today, but he's not really been able to show it because of mistakes, because of damage that he has incurred and picked up. So we will have to wait and see as to whether he can close in on Random Serious, who is going to be on those fresher tyres. 2.3 seconds separate the drivers. Now down to 2 seconds. I think that's a mistake there from Random Serious, who ran a little bit wide, kicked up some of the gravel. He's lost himself some time there. He's definitely coming under pressure from Nicky, who's got some extraordinary pace on more worn tyres. Trying to put Random under pressure. 1.5 seconds now is the gap. Shrinking every single corner, it would seem. Now 1.4. Random is going to be feeling this pressure from Nicky. He's going to know that he's behind him, and he's going to know that he's catching. And he just has to do his best to not make any mistakes to try and keep the pace up on those fresh tyres. His pace might increase a little bit when they start to warm up slightly, but for now Nicky certainly has the pace advantage. He's almost within a second. The rear end getting a little bit loose through there. Of course, these cars not having the sort of downforce that you'd see on a Formula 1 car, so they're a little bit more diva-ish, if that would be a way to describe it. A bit more rambunctious on the throttle, quite difficult to control, especially through the high-speed corners and the medium-speed corners, where the rear just wants to slide away a bit. And Random goes and gives me a demonstration of that as he loses the rear end and gets spun around. And again, we miss out on a fight because of driver error there. So the order now, will run through it really quickly for you. We've got Jinnit to win it. He's crossing the line now to start lap 19. He's in P1 and very comfortably so, as he just improves upon his fastest lap. We go 1 minute and 45 seconds down the road. We've got Nicky who's just come out of the pits a couple of laps ago. No, that was random, sorry. Who I think has made his pit stop around 3 or 4 laps ago. And he is going to be pushing on. Behind him is Random, who doesn't have the pace of Nicky, it would seem, and lost the position to him by making that mistake where he lost the rear end. We've got Seabury behind them, another 2.5 minutes behind. He's in P4, and then the last of the cars, another 3 minutes behind Seabury, will be Tim. Tim Lee, of course, our pole sitter, had an absolutely disastrous race, got himself caught up in a massive crash, and made some mistakes as well. He lost the rear, which lost him the lead to Jinnit quite early on in this race. But yeah, it's like watching a practice session at the moment, though, with all the cars with the distance between them, and every now and then they'll just get a little bit close. Two drivers will end up in a battle, and then we usually see some sort of fireworks. But yeah, Jinnit is taking us on to lap 20 now. Let's have a ride on board for this lap with our race leader Jinnit, and we can see why he's the race leader, so we ride on board with him. Getting a little bit slow through there, actually. It looked like he missed a gear mid-apex. Still managing to get the drive, a little bit of a lift there at the top of the hill as he ran a little bit wide. Try not to pick up any penalties. Looks like he's coming up to lap. I think that's Seabury there. As he swings through the left-hander, uses the curbing on the outside to extend the track ever so slightly, just to try and get the drive up the hill. And this is a really fun double apex corner. Clips the first apex, runs a little bit wider through the second, trying to maximise his speed on the exit, because your exit is really important in this little section as they go uphill. Now he's right up onto the back of Seabury. He's going to be feeling the dirty air as well, so he's going to watch out that he doesn't go ambition ahead of adhesion and spin. And they get very close as Jinnit laps Seabury there. Then through this left-hander, you don't drift out wide much because you've got to get straight back over to the left. Then trying to carry the speed, taking quite a wide line through that corner to try and keep up that minimum apex speed as they then dive down the hill, the long right-hander onto the main straight. You've got to get a really good exit through here because it's flat out all the way to turn 1. And he's gone across the line now. Does he improve? He's 1 minute back on his personal best, but that might be a good thing for Jinnit, really. Shows that maybe he's not pushing too much. We do see him run a little bit wide there, but if he wants to win this race, all he has to do is not make any big mistakes, and it's guaranteed for him, essentially. Wish I had the power to call out a safety car. That would be quite that would certainly probably be the play, but yeah, Jinnit all on his own there, out on track. I don't think he'll catch up to any more lap traffic now throughout the race, because he's got a really big gap there to the next lap car of Random Serious, I think that is. No, it's Tim in P5. So he's just got to bring this one home. 6 laps remaining. Let's have a look in his cockpit. I missed a comment there, I think. Thank you to everybody watching, of course. I should probably bring up Twitch on my phone so I can see the comments on the broadcast. Still 8 viewers out there, so big shout out to those 8 that are watching along at the moment in this lull part of the race. It would be the best way to describe it, as we see Jinnit coming into the pit lane. So here comes Jinnit. He's going to be making another pit stop. I mean, he has the gap behind to do it. That won't be any concern to him. He does not need to worry about the traffic. It looks like he might be serving a time penalty actually there, because I don't think they changed any of the tyres. Looked like perhaps that was a stop and go penalty there for Jinnit. It shouldn't harm him too much though, as is the nature of the gap that he has back to Nicky, who just manages to unlap himself there. But yeah, that's been the true story of the race so far, has just been of some exceptional driving at the front of the field and some lackluster driving throughout the rest of it. It's understandable though, everybody trying to get used to a new game that they don't usually race on. Of course, MidWest usually specialising in Formula 1, F1 2020 racing. So to move to a more hardcore sim for one of the series is a big change. So it's understandable that some of the drivers are going to be struggling to get used to that, especially as this is the first race. It's around a very difficult track as well, Portimao. Not the easiest, certainly. It's very technical. It's very easy to lose the car. There's a big variety of corners. If I had to describe it, I'd probably call it the Circuit Barcelona Catalunya, but actually a good track. We can see some absolutely stellar racing here. It's unfortunate that we've had so many issues throughout the field that have resulted in the field being whittled down to the handful that still remain, but still some very entertaining racing. And yeah, that crash at the beginning was really something else, as we see Barry. He's now come into the pit lane. Very slow entrance into his pit box. Drivers coming past on the straight to lap him as well. But Jinnit is about to cross the line to start lap 23, so only 4 laps remaining now for Jinnit, our race leader. And how about we ride on board with him again, because he has gone in for that pit stop. It looks like maybe he's going to be going for the fastest lap of the race. So we'll ride on board with him as he's pushing onwards now. Really patient to get on the throttle. It doesn't look like he's actually pushing so much. He might just be trying to keep it calm. Keep it slow and keep it on the track. It might be his main priority, and it should be his main priority really if he does want to take home the win. This race, it says first gear on his display, but I don't think that's the case, because we look at the overlay there, and he certainly is not in first. He's pushing onwards. Second gear for this Apex, slow on power, just manages to get full throttle before the left-hander. Trying to push, but also trying not to make any sort of mistake that could blow this lead for him. Using a little bit of throttle to get the car rotated through there, and then it's hard on the power for this fast right-hander all the way onto the main straight. It's imperative that you get a really good exit here. We'll see if he beats his fastest lap of the race now, as he is going to cross the line, and he is 2 seconds off, so it looks like he's really not pushing at all. Will you be commentating in the morning? Oh, I'm assuming you mean Tier 2 PRL. I'm not 100% sure. You'd have to ask the terrible Joe Egg. I'm really not sure. It's not my decision anyway. As we see, a little bit of the gap starting to come down actually between Nicky and Random Serious. The fight for P2 not over yet. Obviously we saw these drivers getting a little bit closer earlier on in the race, and it looks like they may do again. Random Serious up on his best lap so far. He's got 6.5 seconds to Nicky, and he makes a little bit of a mistake there. Looked like a lock up on the front left, slowing him down slightly. He's lost a few tenths there. .2 seconds is the gap. But it's going up and up and up through the fast right-hander. Looks like Nicky has got a much better exit there than Random, who's just dropping time, but he's gaining it back down the straight. So yeah, there could see might be seeing some radically different setups for the drivers if that's the way that the timings are going, unless they're a little bit delayed. Oh, and Random getting a big snap of oversteer there as well as he's really trying to push that car to try and catch up to Nicky. Nicky has kept the gap about the same. He runs a little bit wide there, getting a dip in a wheel, sorry, in the gravel. He's losing a lot of time to Nicky as Seabury gets lapped there. He's got Tim just behind him as well, but a position ahead. Looks like Seabury's pitted or made a big mistake. He's lost a lot of time. Seabury there getting out of the way for Tim Lee. But we'll follow along with Random Serious. The gap to Nicky ahead of him now 8 seconds, so Nicky really starting to pull out his advantage over Random Serious. But Random's keeping him on his toes, and if Nicky makes a mistake, then Random will be right there. We're nearing the end of this race though. Jinnit is crossing the line now to start the penultimate lap. Lap 26 of 27. And the gap still increasing between Nicky and Random. And as I say that, it starts to decrease. Of course, the commentator's curse coming into full effect. There, but it seems to just be rubber banding a little bit. The delta up and down throughout different parts of the track. But I think over the course of a lap, it's staying about the same. Random way up on his time though, so it looks like he is really pushing now, trying to catch up to Nicky, but that's a big ask to try and catch up in the remaining 2 laps, because of course after these guys, because these guys have been lapped, their race will end. And early, and we see Seabury there off, and he's caused the collision there with Jinnit. I think that is, he's rejoined the track ahead of Jinnit, and Jinnit has gone straight into the back of him, lost his entire front wing. This race is just absolute carnage whenever 2 cars get within a mile of each other, and that might cause a bit of an upset. The lead car there being hit by a lapped car. That's going to be big damage there for Jinnit. I don't think it's going to cost him the race win though. He's second, he's a whole minute ahead. He's losing a hell of a lot of time to Nicky, but I don't think it's going to really matter because he could either pit, get that replaced and get out ahead, or he could complete the last lap without the front wing and still stay ahead. So it's really no issue for Jinnit, and he is going to carry on. He does have 56 seconds in hand to Nicky, whose front wing is intact. We could see a little bit of perhaps this race isn't quite over yet. I don't think that Jinnit is losing enough time though. Of course, in these cars where the downforce is a lot less than Formula 1, then the penalty for getting damage that hurts your downforce is going to be much less. Jinnit definitely losing a lot of time, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near enough. It's yeah, if Nicky had managed to have not made those mistakes that he made, then he would be in a perfect position to take advantage of this. But the gap that Jinnit has got is just going to be far too great unless he makes an incredibly massive mistake, and even then it's looking difficult for him to lose this lead. Seabury in the pits, he's coming back out on the last lap of the race. Maybe he doesn't realise that it's the last lap because for him it's only the 23rd lap, so he might be trying to go for fastest lap. But Jinnit is nearing the finish line now. Not far to go in the inaugural Project Cars 2 race in MidWest Racing League. Looks like Jinnit is going to claim the first victory as well, coming around the final long right-hander that is almost a sector in length. That's how long that corner is. Here he comes with no front wing. Jinnit to win it, rounds the final corner to win the first race by just under 50 seconds to Nicky. And what an insane race. I'm sure Jinnit will be very happy with that one. We'll go back to Nicky as he's going to cross the line there. in P2 after a few corners, as is the gap between those two drivers. Nicky running a little bit wide there as well, getting a bit of a lock-up on. The gap to Random Series is 6 seconds, so it doesn't look like Random is going to be able to catch up to him. We've still got just over a minute left for everybody to complete the current laps that they're on before the race does fully end for the entire field. But here comes Nicky coming around the final corner. He's going to take second place in the inaugural Midwest F1 Project Cars 2 race here in Portimao, crossing the line. The gap only 30 seconds in the end actually to Jinnit, so closer than you thought it would have been if you'd had a look 5 laps ago. Still not very close though. Random Series crossing the line to round off the podium in P3, 4 seconds behind. And that's going to be the end of the race, everybody. So thank you for tuning in. Apologies to the Tim Lee fan club in the chat. Unfortunately, your support has not paid dividends to Tim, who's rounded himself off in P4. Seabury takes home P5. Pretty bad race for him, but of course, that's P5 on paper is still a good position to finish in, because of all the drama that unfolded. So thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been an interesting race, we will say, rather interesting. But yeah, I've been Will Ans as your commentator for tonight. So thank you for tuning in to Midwest F1 League, and I hope to see you again next week for more racing. So yeah, thank you everybody, and good night.